The sound was not a simple rustle or crinkle. It was a violent, percussive rip that tore through the sanctity of the hospital's quiet playroom. It was the sound of a little girl's heart, meticulously crafted from construction paper and stubborn hope, being shredded into confetti. Alara's small hands, usually so deft and sure with a crayon, flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp that was more a silent scream. Her wide, cornflower blue eyes, already too large for her pale, thin face, welled with instant, shimmering tears. She watched, paralyzed, as the woman, a perfectly coiffed storm in a designer coat, flung the two halves of the drawing onto the linoleum floor as if they were contaminated. "Disgusting," the woman hissed, her voice a venomous whisper that seemed to suck all the air from the room. She was scrubbing her son's hand with a sanitizing wipe, her face a mask of revulsion. "We don't know where her hands have been. You don't take things from just anyone." The drawing, Alara's masterpiece, had been an offering. She had seen the little boy, new to the pediatric oncology ward, looking scared and alone in the corner. She had spent the better part of an hour creating it for him. A majestic, smiling sun with rainbow rays, a lopsided puppy chasing a butterfly, and the words, in her best 6-year-old script, "Feel better soon." It was a map of her own hope, drawn in bright wax colors, and she had given it to him. Now it was trash. Alara's father, Leo, was at the vending machine down the hall, buying the apple juice she'd been craving. He returned to a scene that froze the blood in his veins. His daughter, his brave little lioness who faced bone marrow biopsies without a whimper, was trembling, her small shoulders shaking with silent, heartbroken sobs. And on the floor between them lay the evidence of a cruelty he couldn't comprehend. He saw the woman's dismissive, haughty sneer, the way she protectively pulled her sniffling son away from his crying daughter, as if poverty were a disease you could catch. Leo's own coat was worn at the elbows. His boots, though clean, were scuffed. Their life was a precarious house of cards built on minimum wage and medical debt, and this woman, in one casual act of brutality, had blown it all down. Every instinct screamed at him to yell, to unleash the torrent of fear and rage that had been building for months within him. He wanted to tell this woman about the 3 jobs he worked, about the landlord's eviction notice, about the cold fear that was his constant companion. He wanted to make her see the radiant, beautiful soul of the child she had just diminished. But he looked at Alara. He saw the shame coloring her cheeks, the way she tried to make herself smaller. And in that searing moment, Leo made a choice. It was not a choice born of weakness, but of immense, heartbreaking strength. He walked slowly, deliberately, past the woman without a glance. He knelt on the cold floor, his knees cracking, a sound that seemed to underscore his own fragility. Gently, with a reverence usually reserved for holy texts, he gathered the 2 pieces of the destroyed artwork. He pulled a roll of medical tape from his pocket, a staple in their life of bandages and fixes, and, with painstaking care, began to piece her son back together. The rip was stark and ugly, a jagged scar across the happy scene. "It's ruined," Alara whispered, her voice thick with tears. Leo looked into her eyes, his own gaze steady and full of a love so fierce it could power cities. "No, my love," he said, his voice soft but clear, meant for her, but unable to escape the hearing of the stunned, silent room. "Nothing you create could ever be ruined. Sometimes things get a little broken. And sometimes, when we mend them, they become even more special. Because now this drawing has a story of how strong it is." He taped the last piece into place and held it out to her. "It's perfect." He didn't look at the wealthy woman again. He didn't need to. His act was not for her. It was for Alara. It was a lesson in dignity, in resilience, in the unassailable value of what they had, their love, in the face of what they did not. He helped his daughter to her feet, the repaired drawing held carefully in her hands, and led her back to her room, leaving a profound, uncomfortable silence in their wake. Unseen by Leo, another man had witnessed the entire exchange from the doorway. Silas Thorne, a titan of industry whose name was synonymous with ruthless deals and unimaginable wealth, had come to visit the son of his most senior executive. He had seen the woman, his own daughter-in-law, tear the paper. He had seen the raw pain on the little girl's face. And he had seen the profound, quiet dignity of the father whose response was not to destroy, but to rebuild. He watched Leo walk away, a king in a threadbare coat, holding the hand of his heartbroken princess. And in Silas Thorne's chest, a heart long hardened by boardroom battles and personal loss, a loss that had left him isolated in a cavernous, empty mansion, gave a single, painful thud. It was the sound of awakening. Silas Thorne did not follow his daughter-in-law. Instead, he turned and walked purposefully towards the nurse's station, his mind, usually calculating mergers, now wholly occupied by a single, devastatingly simple equation of human decency. He learned what he needed to know not through intimidation, but with a surprising, gentle inquiry that left the head nurse momentarily speechless. She saw the genuine concern in the eyes of the man known as the Thorn and told him about Leo, about his relentless work ethic, about the recent eviction notice, and about Alara's long, difficult road to recovery, a road paved with financial ruin. An hour later, Leo was gently coaxing Alara to eat some green jello when a soft knock interrupted them. The man from the hallway stood there, looking oddly out of place in his immaculate suit, yet his posture was not commanding but hesitant. "Mr. Evans?" Silas's voice was softer than Leo would have imagined. "My name is Silas Thorne. I witnessed what happened in the playroom. There are no words to adequately apologize for the cruelty you and your daughter were shown. It was unconscionable." Leo's guard was up, his body tense. He expected a check, a hollow payoff to ease a wealthy man's guilt. He was prepared to refuse it with every fiber of his being. But Silas didn't offer money. He offered something else entirely. "I run a security firm," he said. "We have a position, head of logistics for our corporate headquarters. The current director is retiring. It requires integrity, calm under pressure, and a meticulous eye for detail. The head nurse informs me you've been single-handedly managing the logistics of your daughter's care, your jobs, and your housing with a grace I've rarely seen. I believe those skills are precisely what my company needs." Leo was stunned into silence. It wasn't charity. It was a job offer. It was respect. "The salary is," Silas quoted a figure that made Leo's head spin. It was more than he could have dreamed of, enough for a safe home, the best care, and freedom from the gnawing terror of debt. "And the health insurance is comprehensive," Silas added, his eyes flicking to Alara, who was watching him with curious eyes. "Why?" Leo finally managed to ask, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Because you feel guilty?" Silas looked at the taped-together drawing, now proudly displayed on Alara's bedside table. "No," he said, his own voice thick with a memory of grief. "I lost my wife and son years ago. In my grief, I built walls. I believed success was a fortress against pain. What your daughter did today, offering comfort to a stranger, and what you did, choosing to mend instead of break. It reminded me that humanity is not found in fortresses. It's found in the mending. You taught my family a lesson in humility today. Please, allow me to balance the scales." Leo looked at Alara, at the hope dawning anew in her eyes. He looked at the man before him, who was not a titan, but just a man, as lonely and broken in his own way as they were. He saw not pity, but a chance, a partnership. He took the job. Years later, the taped-together drawing, now preserved in a simple frame, hung not in a hospital room, but in the sleek, modern lobby of Thorne Solutions. Leo Evans, the vice president of operations, would pass it every day, and often, he would walk to his lunch meeting with his mentor and now dear friend, Silas Thorne. On weekends, Silas, the gruff billionaire, could be found in the sprawling garden of the Evans family home, his sleeves rolled up, teaching a now healthy and vibrant Alara how to prune rose bushes. He was, to her, simply Grandpa Silas. The jagged tear across the paper had never disappeared. It was still there, a permanent part of the artwork story. But it was no longer a scar of cruelty. It was a seal. A reminder that the most powerful force in the world is not the hand that tears down, but the hand that patiently, lovingly, pieces things back together. It was a testament to the transformative power of a kindness that chose to build a bridge where others would have burned one down. Their lives, once defined by what they lacked, were now overflowing with what they had given each other. A second chance, a family found not in blood, but in compassion, and a love that proved that even the most broken things can be made whole again. Moral of the story: true strength is not demonstrated by the power to destroy, but by the courage to compassionately mend what is broken.